Hi all, this is Jan, and this is episode 5 of the Jan Files, where we're going to talk about Medicaid. A couple housekeeping things. First, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button. But easily as important is the fact that you can make this go by faster by going up to the top, see the gear, the settings gear, click on that, drop down to playback speed and hit 1.25. You'll still be able to understand everything I'm saying, but it will go by quicker, which, given the nature of what we're talking about, that might be helpful. Anyway, we're going to talk about Medicaid. There are 86 million Americans on Medicaid. 1 out of every 4 American is on Medicaid. It costs us $900 billion a year. The benefits are paid by both the federal government and the state. Depending on the state, if it's a poor state like Mississippi, they pay 78% of the benefits, and the state pays the other 22%. So this is a program that is funded by both the federal government and the state, but the state also has to implement it. The federal government does not. Okay, so that's really important as you hear some of these changes and how they're going to impact states. Now, the other overall thing you should know, no undocumented immigrant gets Medicaid. They didn't before the bill, and they're not going to get it after the bill. So be clear. Somebody tells you, oh, all these, illegals are going to, be thrown off, and it's going to, yay, now it's just going to be for Americans. It's all a load of crap. Okay, it's a complete and utter lie. It is what is out there. So they fear mongering, and again, about immigrants. It's not true. Period. Look it up. The other thing is that there is only 0.1% of fraud is committed by the beneficiaries of both Medicaid and SNAP. The fraud level is next to nothing for the beneficiary. Where the fraud happens is with the providers in Medicaid and with the retailers in SNAP and those who are trafficking in the EBT cards, the SNAP cards that you get your food with. So this idea that, oh, we're cutting fraud out of this is utter nonsense. It's complete and utter nonsense. What they're doing is cutting back on programs that help those who are in poverty. Okay? Because you have to be between 100%, and there's a reason why it's 100%, and 138% of the federal poverty level. That's the FPL, in order to get Medicaid. So like for a family of three people, that's $34,000 a year. For 3 people. That is the level, okay, of the income that you cannot make more than in order to get Medicaid, period. What is new is the fact that there are now work requirements. And let's be clear, folks, this is medical insurance, period. Nobody gets a check. Nobody can deposit it into something and use it for something else. Medicaid is a card, as most of you know, that you use when you go to the doctors or the pharmacy, and your services and your drugs are covered. Okay? That's what Medicaid is. So, again, there's no money flying around. This is literally just a benefit that helps people who are ill or helps them to stay well, that are in poverty. I'm going to keep saying that. And one more time, it's not undocumented immigrants. Now, the work requirements are that you have to work 80 hours a month, or do some kind of community service, etc. Now, this is going to require a whole process to be put in place that is not in process. It's not in the states now. There is no such thing as a work requirement for Medicaid anywhere. So now the states are going to have to put this whole system in that doesn't exist yet in order to verify income eligibility and work eligibility. okay? This is going to the states. The cost is going to the states, not the federal government. So the savings of $1 trillion they want to have in 10 years' time from Medicaid savings, cuts, okay, is going to fall, make a lot of this fall to the states. Now, one of the things that the states get their Medicaid funds from is providers. They tax providers. Right now, it's 6%. They can tax providers 6%, and they use those funds to put into their Medicaid system. This bill actually cuts that tax from 6%, and it goes down to 3.5% in 6 years' time. So that is going to lower the amount of Medicaid funds that the states get. Okay, so be clear. So where are they going to get that money from? I don't have the answer, but I think a lot of this bill asks a lot of questions that need to be answered that clearly weren't asked and answered in any kind of real fashion by the people who drew this bill up, the Republican Party, because it wasn't the Democrats. So let's get really clear. There are a lot of questions that have yet to be answered about what is actually in this bill. Now, there were two, and to go back to this kind of overall idea of stopping the streamlining of the process that was supposed to be taking place. There were programs about to go into effect that were going to make the process of signing up both SNAP and Medicaid easier, relying more on technology, making it so that on both sides of the equations, the state and the beneficiary, this could be a simpler affair. Instead, it is not. It is the same burdensome system that was in place before, except it's even more burdensome. So now, instead of checking somebody's eligibility once a year, it's twice a year. Okay, and it goes throughout all of these different programs within Medicaid, including seniors who may be in nursing homes or getting long-term care that have to reapply, have to provide information to the government when they are not really in a place to do so. And so the CBO, which is the Congressional, I keep wanting to say box office, but it's not, the Congressional Budget Office, which is nonpartisan, has been rating everybody's bill, no matter who it is, for decades, has made clear this is going to make many people fall off the rolls. And this is throughout all of these programs, whether it's SNAP or Medicaid, that there's going to be a far more cumbersome process. It's going to be up to the states. The states are going to have to pay for it and are not getting any real monies from the federal government other than what they cover for the benefits. Because there actually was another program called, I always forget the name of this one, Medicaid Disproportionate Share Hospital. It's called DSH. That's DSH. And there are allotments that were given to the states to help them pay hospitals and clinics, etc., in areas that were heavily used by Medicaid recipients, because they're not getting enough to maintain their functions as whatever that is, a medical hospital, a medical clinic, etc. So the states were given funds to help give to those different providers. That has been cut way down, cutting it down by $8 billion over, I just got to see what the period of time is. It'll start FY 2026, which is October of 2026, and will go through 2031. And during that period of time, they are going to cut $8 billion. So again, who does that hurt? It hurts the states and the people especially in states that are more impoverished. So on every level, this is going after people that are not as wealthy, that are in the middle to lower class, and providing all sorts of obstacles for them to get the help they need. Now, one of the big changes is the fact the home equity limit. Now, many of you know, maybe because of parents, that the parent's house, a senior's house, is part of what they use to qualify you for Medicaid. So if you're going into a nursing home or getting long-term care, you have to be able to be eligible for Medicaid. Before the big, beautiful, badass bullshit bill, there was a cap of $1 million, okay? And you had to at least hit 700,000 because the states were able to choose which cap they wanted, right? So New York chose $1 million because there are a lot of people here who are, house wealthy, but poor in the bank, right? Because they've been in the house for so long, it's increased in such value, but they don't live the kind of life that one would think a person who owns $1 million house would live. So what has happened is they've cut that $1 million to 750,000. So right now the cap for everybody is $750,000. If your house is worth more than that, you're not eligible for Medicaid. You have to spend the equity down, sell it, deplete your assets so that you can be eligible to get Medicaid, because nursing home care can be very, very expensive. So this is a real kick in the ass to the blue states, to people who live in New York, Pennsylvania, California, New Jersey, whatever, Massachusetts, because our housing values are higher. So that means, again, the blue states will suffer. And that this is not the only time I've seen this in this bill. And now I'm just going to go to the ACA, also known as Obamacare, also known as the Affordable Care Act, and what the changes are to there. So it's pretty bad. And I'm not sure, there's kind of like this, when are things going to start? I'm not sure. Some say earlier, some say later. So I'm just going to tell you what eventually is going to happen. So those of you who are getting subsidies that maybe started during the pandemic to pay your insurance premiums, that's gone. That's going to go away. I think that one is going away pretty quickly, FYI. They're also cutting and ending any money that was set aside for community programs and for state, marketplaces. So every state has their own marketplace, right? And every year they kind of reach out and let everybody know that there is that you have to sign up. You've gotten it, you know what it is. You make sure you sign up by so-and-so, the window is open and stuff like that. But that one, they actually didn't, the outreach part of it, they didn't cut all the way out. They cut it from 100 million to 10 million. What they cut are the community programs. There are no more free vaccinations. There is no more chronic disease prevention. There is no more community health initiatives. All of that's gone. Okay? All of that is gone. So I don't even know what to say, folks. God forbid we have another pandemic. And we have this crew in charge. Anyway, I go off into this fear. I think what you should know about this whole Medicaid debacle is that everything they've changed, all of it is about making it harder to get on the rolls and to stay on the rolls. It's deeply going to impact especially seniors. So that's the Medicaid. That's the big, ugly, beautiful bill. I'm not sure what's next in my lineup. Some things I will ignore because there's no point, like the armed services. They're just, spending money, and it's the same. There's no really great difference in that bill. So, I mean, in that section of this bill. So I'm going to avoid that. And next, I'm not sure what's next, but I also want to go back and do a really short one on the changes of SNAP. So thank you for being here. Please subscribe. Let me know if there's anything you want to know. Let me know if I screwed up and got something wrong. Take care. Bye-bye.